Missouri, Gerry Rafferty, and a Congressional first are all on this day. Welcome back to On This Day. Today's date is January 4th, 2023. It is the fourth day of the year. There are 361 days left in 2023. It is the first Wednesday in the first week in the 15th day of winter. You got 75 days left until spring. If today's your birthday, your birthstone is a garnet. Today is National Missouri Day. On July 4th, National Missouri Day recognizes the 24th state to join the Union. Also known as the Gateway to the West, Missouri is bordered by two great rivers. The Mississippi River is on the eastern border, while portions of the Missouri River are on the western border. As a result, Missouri is an ideal location for transportation and trade. Did you know Missouri's nickname is the Show Me State? Now, that's not officially the state's nickname, but it is on their license plates, and it's a very common thing to be used as the nickname of the state. Now, there's a whole bunch of stories of how they got that nickname. The most common one is because of a congressman, Willard Duncan Van Diver. He served in the United States House of Representatives from 1897 to 1903. While a member of the U.S. House Committee on Naval Affairs, Van Diver attended an 1899 naval banquet in Philadelphia. In a speech there, he declared, "I come from a state that raises corn and cotton and Democrats. And frothy eloquence neither convinces nor satisfies me. I'm from Missouri. You have to show me." Regardless of whether Van Diver coined that phrase, it was, and it's always been a popular saying, not so much these days, but it was always something that was connected with Missouri. There's another story that a bunch of coal miners came from Missouri to a coal mine in Colorado, and I guess the mine's boss was tired of giving these people instructions that came from Missouri. He said he had to give them instructions over and over, so he had a standard policy that if they're from Missouri, you gotta show them. Who knows which of the 30 stories about that slogan is true? Those are my two favorite. Missouri has a lot of cultural attractions, from riverboat cruises to musical festivals and tours. The largest brewing company in the nation. It's got a rich history of interesting people. Here's a few names you might recognize: Daniel Boone, Laura Ingalls Wilder, Kit Carson, William Clark, Walt Disney, Scott Joplin, Joseph Pulitzer. If those people weren't born there, at some point they called Missouri their home. All right, let's see what else January 4th has given us. 1853, after having been kidnapped and sold into slavery in the American South, Solomon Northup regains his freedom. His memoir, 12 Years a Slave, later becomes a national bestseller and a pretty darn good movie. I watched that movie, and it was kind of horrifying to think that this could happen to someone. I mean, don't get me wrong, slavery in general is just a horrible situation. A really dark part in American world history, actually. But for this man to be a freed man and living a normal life, and then basically being kidnapped and taken to the South and made a slave. But yeah, if you get a chance, read the book. If not, definitely see the movie. 1951, Korean War. Chinese and North Korean forces capture Seoul for the second time. Yeah, they had gone back and forth with this. It is a shame, and I've mentioned this before on this channel, that the Korean War really it's a forgotten war. People have called it that before in books or whatever, but it is a forgotten war. Everyone knows about World War II. Everyone knows about the Gulf Wars. Everyone knows about Vietnam. It's like you got to be a history buff to remember anything about or to know anything about the Korean War. 1987, the Maryland train collision. An Amtrak train en route to Boston from Washington, D.C. collides with Conrail engines in Chase, Maryland, killing 16 people. 2007, the 110th United States Congress convenes, electing Nancy Pelosi as the first female Speaker of the House in U.S. history. I did not know she was the first female Speaker of the House. I had no idea. Deep dive. The first Speaker of the House was Frederick A.C. Muhlenberg of Pennsylvania. He was elected to preside over the office on April 1st, 1789, the day the House organized itself into the first federal Congress. Since then, they've had 54 total speakers. I'm recording this early on the 3rd of January. By the 4th, we should have another one, bringing it up to 55. The longest serving Speaker of the House was Samuel Rayburn of Texas. He served as Speaker a total of 17 years and 2 months and 2 days. The shortest term of Speaker of the House was, he really wasn't a Speaker of the House. They just gave it to him the last day. But as a sign of respect from his colleagues, on March 3rd, 1869, Theodore M. Pomeroy of New York served for the closing day of the 40th Congress, 1867 to 1869. So he got to be the Speaker for one day. The state with the most speakers has been Massachusetts. They've had 8 of the 54 54 or 55. Now, the Speaker of the House is third in line for the presidency. So if the president dies and the vice president die, let's say in some kind of weird attack, the Speaker of the House becomes the president of the United States, or the vice president if the president dies. That being said, only one Speaker of the House has ever served as the president of the United States, and that was James K. Polk. Nobody died. He was elected. The youngest Speaker of the House was Robert M.T. Hunter of Virginia. He was elected Speaker on December 16th, 1839, at the age of 30. The oldest was Henry T. Rainey of Illinois. He was elected Speaker for the first time at age 72. Now, this is my favorite. The first sitting Speaker to lose re-election of the House was William Pennington of New Jersey. It only happened 2 other times, so 3 times total did the Speaker of the House lose their re-election. Galshua Grow from Pennsylvania and Tom Foley from Washington. They also lost their re-elections. Premiered on January 4th, 2008, Between Two Ferns with Zach Galifianakis. Okay, so this is kind of like a talk show, but it's kind of a spoof on a talk show on Funny or Die. You can find them on YouTube also. But he's interviewed some pretty big names like Barack Obama, Jimmy Kimmel, John Hamm, Natalie Portman, Bradley Cooper, Charlize Theron, Ben Stiller, Steve Carell, Sean Penn's been on there, so is Bruce Willis, Jennifer Aniston, Will Ferrell, Brad Pitt, and Hillary Clinton have all been on Between Two Ferns. Now, the gist of the show is he's got these 2 ferns. It's supposed to be like a public access thing. Zach Galifianakis plays like the worst ever interviewer that's also got an attitude, like he's better than everyone else, and he's just horrible at his job. And it usually ends up the person being interviewed gets kind of irritated at him. Born on January 4th, 1963, Dave Foley, comedian that is best known for being one of the founding members of the sketch group The Kids in the Hall, which was a popular show in the 1990s. He's also done voice acting. He was in Monsters University. He dropped out of high school to follow his stand-up comedy dreams, which is never a good idea. But he was taking improv classes, and that's where he met future co-star Kevin McDonald, and he was also in the Kids in the Hall. They just came back out with a new series on Amazon Prime. It's a little weird. They were always weird. Now they're a little bit weird and older. He was also on the sitcom News Radio from 1995 to 1999, and he was often on The Late Show with David Letterman. Died on January 4th, 2011, Gerry Rafferty, Scottish musician best known as a former member of Stealers Wheel, a group known for the song Stuck in the Middle with You. After establishing himself as a fixture in the music industry, he consulted young aspiring musicians on the craft of songwriting. His earliest band was a folk act known as the Humble Bums. He went on to have a solo career and wrote one of the best songs of the 1970s, Baker Street. Great song. Gerry Rafferty died of liver failure at the home of his daughter Martha in Stroud, Gloucestershire, which I imagine is in Scotland, on this day in 2011 at the age of 63. All right, that's today's video. Hope you guys enjoyed it. Hope you got some information out of it. Now go out, have a great day, and be nice to each other.